The alley was a scar on the city's face. It was a place forgotten by time, where the city's pulse slowed to a crawl and the shadows grew long and menacing. The moonlight barely penetrated the thick canopy of darkness, casting eerie, elongated shadows that danced on the walls like spectres. Darkness clung to it like a shroud, wrapping every corner in an impenetrable veil. The alley seemed to breathe, exhaling a cold, damp mist that chilled to the bone. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, whispering secrets to those brave enough to venture within. Grime coated the brick walls, a tapestry of shadows and decay. The graffiti told stories of despair and rebellion, each stroke a cry for help or a mark of defiance. The walls seemed to close in, suffocating, as if the very bricks were imbued with the sorrow of those who had passed through. The air hung heavy, thick with the stench of rot and the promise of rain. It was a miasma of decay, a blend of mildew, garbage, and something more sinister. The fog swirled around, obscuring vision and creating an almost dreamlike, nightmarish quality to the scene. It was a place where sunlight feared to tread. The alley was a realm of perpetual night where the sun's rays were banished, and only the cold, indifferent moon dared to cast its pale light. It was a sanctuary for the lost and the damned, a refuge for those who had nowhere else to go. The only sound was the drip, drip of water from a leaking pipe. Each drop fell with a monotonous regularity, a metronome marking the passage of time in this forsaken place. The water pooled in grimy puddles, reflecting the dim light in a distorted, almost grotesque manner. Each drop echoed in the stillness, a haunting reminder of the alley's desolation. The sound reverberated off the walls, creating an eerie symphony that seemed to amplify the loneliness and despair that permeated the air. A rat scurried across the damp pavement, its eyes like glowing embers in the gloom. It moved with a furtive, almost desperate energy, as if it too was trying to escape the oppressive atmosphere. The rat was a creature of the night, perfectly at home in this world of shadows and decay. This was no place for the living. The alley was a liminal space, a borderland between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. It was a place where the past lingered, where memories and ghosts intertwined, and where the whispers of the forgotten echoed through the night. Alex stood at the mouth of the alley, a silhouette against the dying light. A thrill of fear, mingled with excitement, coursed through him.
He had heard the whispers, tales whispered in hushed tones, legends of the alley.
Whispering shadows, they called it.
They said the alley was haunted, a place where the veil between worlds thinned, where voices from beyond reached out, seeking solace or perhaps something more sinister.
Alex, ever the skeptic, was determined to uncover the truth.
He took a hesitant step into the darkness. The air grew colder, pressing against him like icy hands. The stench intensified, a suffocating miasma that made him gag. Still, he pressed on, each step drawing him deeper into the heart of the alley.
The silence was broken only by the sound of his own breathing and the frantic pounding of his heart. He felt a presence here, something unseen watching him from the shadows. He was not alone.
Then he heard them. Whispers, soft at first, like the rustle of leaves. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once.
He strained to make out the words, his heart pounding in his chest.
The whispers grew louder, more insistent. Pleas for help, they sounded like. Voices filled with anguish and despair. His fear threatened to overwhelm him, but a strange compulsion kept him rooted to the spot. He had to know who was calling out to him.
He stumbled forward, his hand outstretched, reaching for the source of the whispers. Each step felt like an eternity, the ground beneath him uneven and treacherous. His heart pounded in his chest, a relentless drumbeat that echoed in the silence of the night. The whispers seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once, a haunting melody that pulled him deeper into the darkness. The air grew thick and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. It was as if the very atmosphere was conspiring against him, pressing down on his lungs with an invisible force. He gasped for breath, each inhalation a struggle against the oppressive weight of the fog that surrounded him. The mist clung to his skin, cold and clammy, sending shivers down his spine. The alley seemed to twist and turn around him, a labyrinth with no escape. Every corner he turned led to another dead end, another shadowy passage that seemed to stretch on forever. The walls of the alley loomed high above him, their surfaces slick with moisture and grime. He felt as though he was being swallowed whole by the darkness, lost in a maze with no way out.
The whispers reached a fever pitch, a chorus of voices clawing at his mind. They were insistent, demanding his attention, filling his head with a cacophony of sound that threatened to drive him mad. He clutched at his ears, trying to block out the noise, but it was no use. The voices were inside his head, a relentless tide that he could not escape. Then, as quickly as they had started, they ceased. A chilling silence descended. The sudden absence of sound was almost more terrifying than the whispers had been. It was as if the world had been plunged into a void, a place where no sound could exist. He stood frozen, his breath coming in shallow gasps, his eyes wide with fear as he scanned the darkness for any sign of movement. He felt a cold dread creep up his spine. It was a primal fear, a deep-seated terror that gripped him and would not let go. His skin prickled with goosebumps, and he could feel the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. He turned slowly, his eyes darting from shadow to shadow, searching for the source of his fear. He was not supposed to be here. This place was forbidden, a realm of shadows and secrets that was meant to remain hidden. He had crossed a line, ventured into a world that was not his own, and now he was paying the price. The darkness seemed to close in around him, a living entity that sought to consume him. He knew he had to find a way out, but the path was unclear, and the danger was all too real.
He turned to leave, his heart pounding in his chest. The alley seemed to stretch endlessly before him, each step echoing louder than the last. His breath came in ragged gasps, the cold air stinging his lungs, but it was too late. The shadows seemed to come alive, twisting and writhing as if they had a mind of their own. He felt a chill run down his spine, a sense of impending doom washing over him. A figure emerged from the shadows, blocking his path. It moved with an unnatural grace, its presence suffocating the very air around him. He could feel the weight of its gaze, a silent threat that promised no escape. It was tall and skeletal, its form shrouded in darkness. The figure seemed to absorb the light, casting an eerie glow that made his skin crawl. Its elongated limbs moved with a fluidity that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. Two eyes, glowing with an eerie light, fixed on it. They seemed to pierce through his very soul, revealing his deepest fears and darkest secrets. He felt exposed, vulnerable, as if those eyes could see everything he tried to hide.
He tried to scream, but no sound escaped his lips. His throat felt tight, constricted by an invisible force. Panic surged through him, his mind racing for a way out, but there was none. He was paralyzed with fear, his body frozen in place, every muscle tensed, refusing to obey his desperate commands to move. The world around him seemed to blur, the figure becoming the only thing in sharp focus. The figure took a step closer, its presence radiating an unnatural cold. The temperature seemed to drop with each step it took, the air growing thick with an oppressive silence. He could feel the cold seeping into his bones, numbing his senses. He could smell the stench of decay, feel the heat of its gaze burning into him. The foul odor was overwhelming, a sickening mix of rot and death that made his stomach churn. The heat from its eyes was intense, as if they were burning holes into his very being.
You should not have come here. The voice was a low, guttural whisper, echoing in the empty alley. It was filled with malice, a warning that he had crossed a line that should never have been crossed. He knew in that moment that he was truly trapped. You shouldn't be here. This place is not meant for the living.
Alex tried to speak, to apologize for trespassing, but his voice failed him. He could only stare in mute terror as the figure closed the remaining distance between them. He had been warned, but his curiosity, his arrogance had led him down this dark and dangerous path. Now he would pay the ultimate price.
Stay with us. Join us in the shadows.
Alex felt his resistance crumbling, his will draining away. The figure's eyes held him captive, promising oblivion, promising release. He wanted to fight, to escape, but the darkness was closing in, suffocating him. The whispers began again, this time not pleading, but welcoming. He was being drawn in, pulled into the heart of the darkness. The alley, the whispering shadows, had claimed another soul. The legend would endure. And as the darkness closed in, as the whispers drowned out all other sounds, a single, terrifying truth dawned on Alex. This was no legend, no mere urban myth. This was real. The whispering shadows were real, and he was trapped within their grasp. He had sought the truth, but some truths are best left buried. Some secrets are meant to remain hidden. He had learned this lesson too late. The alley remained. A scar on the city, a place of whispers and shadows, a testament to the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of the everyday. A chilling reminder that some legends are best left undisturbed. For curiosity, while a powerful force, can sometimes lead to terrifying ends. Be careful what you seek in the shadows, for the shadows may be seeking you.